I'm gonna get up there and rip you apart.
Hello, ladies and gamers. Welcome to the Dark Hour. Things can get a little bit dangerous around here, but if you stick close to me, you'll be fine. It's been a while, hasn't it? You miss me? It's about time. Sorry for the wait. The next few videos will be much more efficient. Just wanted to say thank you for the support. It seems my last video is picked up in the algorithm. It's had an impact. Some people have mentioned it or talked about it in different servers, and a certain person I responded to watched the video. So I just wanted to say thank you. I love seeing this community come together and do something great. You're clearly having a schizo moment.
Nuh-uh! Fuck you mean nuh-uh?
Look, my Redfall video, while being good in my eyes, isn't good enough. That video was me trying to chase a trend and rightfully pay the consequences for it. That's why from here on out, I promise to make content that matters, and that always has had a greater goal in mind, like my ultimate defense video. And usually this is the part where the YouTuber says insults to people that criticize himself. To be honest, it's okay if you disagree with me and my videos. I don't want to go and stream criticizing my video if I had nothing to gain from it. I like learning from my mistakes. However, if you're just being toxic, or to say to rub salt in the wound like you're an anime villain, I think you're just kind of whack. So, if your plan is to leave a negative comment on this video, then at least do it in a nicer fashion. I quickly wanted to mention that the responses are ever changing. Every once in a while, somebody will make a video on DmC Devil May Cry, which makes my job never ending. So if the question is, why are you making up a follow-up video, the answer is in 2 parts. 1, I want to make a video that's more watchable, rather than a video that's 1 billion hours long, why most people could never get to the end of, arguably. And the second reason is that I think that I found the worst DmC Devil May Cry video I've ever seen. It's so god-awful and so baffling, I have to cover it. Nearly done here. The future of this channel has never been so clear to me. I have a rough timeline of the videos that I want to make and how much time it takes. And of course, to check out the second channel, I just released 2 videos on DmC and I plan to make many more. Let me finally say that DmC Devil May Cry is turning 11 years old, so this is the perfect way to celebrate. Check out the Discord to join the Brotherhood also. With that out of the way.
Alright, let's kick some ass.
When I released my video, I knew someone who was in the video was going to react, but I didn't expect it to be MangaKamen, and he didn't like the video one bit. This all started when somebody commented on my video saying that Manga was talking about me. I looked and I couldn't find any sort of thing on YouTube, Discord, or Twitter, but I want to add something. I like to make joke tweets on Twitter, usually relating to my videos. Think of it as an inside joke. I made this video with Lila's Club music playing over it, saying that MangaKamen, after talking about the DmC Devil May Cry controversy for more than 8 minutes, but only talking about the gameplay for 3 and saying the game's button mashing with no explanation. I thought it was a funny tweet, and I still do think it is. But I noticed that it had way more views than likes, so I went on my other account to see that it had been responded to. It's weird that I didn't see it on my main account at any point. His quote tweet was this: I outright stated at the beginning of the section that it wasn't bad, and that I was referring to the combo system with that comment. Also, love how you left out the fact that I was referring to an older version of the game. 1. Whether you think that the combat isn't all bad isn't my point. You can make something terrible and still think it's good. The problem was the point itself. 2. You can't button mash in DmC Devil May Cry and suddenly get a good rank. The reason why is that button mashing means a very specific thing. That means you are simply using one button and you get through the game just fine. DmC 2 on normal difficulty is an example of this. DN 5 is another good example of this. And as I said in my Ultimate Defense of DmC Devil May Cry video, you button mashing with one weapon, that'll only give you one combo. You can't do this with an angel weapon because it doesn't do enough damage. You can't do this with demon weapons because they are slow to do real damage. So that leaves you with Rebellion. To me, even switching weapons isn't button mashing. The fact is, if you try this against enemies that are very different than normal enemies, you're gonna have problems. So this idea only works when you're not playing past the 2 levels. Because you have enemies that have shields, have color-coded attributes, have blue shields, have weaknesses on their back, have DT moves, and one enemy that just straight up parries you. So this only works in complete isolation from the actual game. That was always my problem. On top of that, 3, even if that was supposed to be true, you didn't explain yourself. You didn't show footage or explain it. And like I said in the tweet, you only had 3 minutes on the gameplay section. It seemed like you were just rushing by points instead of actually saying something that matters. You might as well just not talked about the gameplay and your video would have been much stronger because of it. There are other tweets as well. He quoted a tweet from Android Axel saying this guy wants to be EFAP so bad. We'll get to that silly goose later. You know what I find infuriating? People saying this is just your opinion, and where I am making it clear that any personal views on a subject are my own opinion. Like, yeah, that's my opinion. I never said a damn thing about it being fact. This isn't a gotcha moment. Alright gamers, listen up. I've said this like 1,000 times and I'll say it again. If you like or dislike DmC Devil May Cry, that is okay. I'm not here to say that you're wrong for being human. However, when I want to address is reasons. ChaserTech and MagicSchoolBass have said that DmC Devil May Cry's gameplay has issues, but their reasonings make them way different. I repeat, I am not criticizing you for liking or disliking something. What matters is the points that you make. That is what I'm trying to discuss. I'm simply here to respond to your arguments and see if it holds weight. But I'm really getting sick and tired of jumping out of the conversation just to say, it's my opinion, and I'm like, yeah, I know that. Can we get back to why you think the combo meter is button mashing? It feels like a distraction rather than addressing the real topic. He has another tweet saying the same thing, so let's keep on going. In this tweet, he says, when you realize that the person you're quote tweeting made a video responding to many creators for hours, yeah, I'm not dealing with that. Seems like manga can't handle the Splinter style.
Later.
In seriousness though, the reason why the video is so long is because I cover nearly everything about the game in detail. This includes videos about the game as well. I'm covering nearly 10 years of this game being around, and there are things I missed. My Virgil downfall section could be better. I didn't talk about the music, and there are quite a few videos that I didn't include in that video. So that's the purpose of this video, to include it here, at least hopefully. The final tweet says, blocking since I'm not interested in the headache here. Also, no one go after this guy on my behalf. So this explains why we didn't see his quote tweet, due to me being blocked. But I do appreciate the kindness from him and not sending anybody after me. After this point, Manga and ChaserTech had a bit of a back and forth over a tweet. After less than 2 tweets, ChaserTech got blocked. But it's worth mentioning that they worked everything out behind the scenes, so I won't be talking about it. This is the next part of the story. After I got out of the medical center, a little video popped up in my recommended. This was a video responding to my part on MangaKamen. The video is no more, but I feel like talking to the creator. This creator was Android Axel. Told you we'd get back to him. Me and him had a chat over it, and it went better than expected. In fact, me and him both enjoyed our chat, so I featured in my Redfall video, and I featured in one of his. Check out both when you get a chance. So since I already talked to him about this, there's no use in responding to it. But it was worth mentioning. However, this story doesn't end just yet. Android posted our debate on his channel, and then Manga said that he was open to discussion. So MangaKamen, if you're watching, yo. Sup, dude? If you're open to chat, there is a Discord link below. Follow that to my server and then message me. We'll set it up from there. And in addition, my videos aren't meant to cause harm. It's simply addressing arguments. I'm mostly having fun and doing something for my sake. I'm not saying that you're a bad YouTuber simply because you make a video that I disagree with. In fact, I quite enjoy your videos. This video isn't meant as a takedown or an own or whatever. I'm just here to do something that I love. This one will be quick. I'm covering only the negative stuff because the rest of this video is okay.
It is said that the more media is trying to be portrayed as modern and relevant for its time, the more alien and weird it starts to look as time moves on and changes. And with those changes, there is also a change in perspective.
Look what just happened. Virgil died of cringe. Companies lying to consumers about their product? Check. News anchors misleading the people? Check. And CEOs trying to control everything? Double check. Sure, the anonymous thing is stated, but everything else could take place in current day.
So, in short, this game bombed and hard.
Well, to be more technical, it didn't bomb. The problem was Capcom's expectations were far too high. With this reboot, they were hoping to get Call of Duty level numbers. No matter how well the game would have been, I don't think it would have changed the outcome. But by all means, it didn't bomb, it just didn't sell nearly as much as they wanted to. While I agree that it wasn't a success, we really can't say it bombed hard.
I played through the game on normal difficulty, and as I was learning the combos and trying to go from mashing to properly doing stylish combos, I rarely ever found myself in actual danger.
I don't think you really need difficulty in most character action games. While I'd like more of a challenge, the challenge isn't the core part of the system. The skill comes from the creativity and thinking on the fly. I do enjoy the Bayos and the DMC3s of character action games, but I think Hi-Fi Rush did it best. Sorry that I'm using Hi-Fi Rush again on this channel, but too bad. This game doesn't challenge you super often, only when points it's needed. However, the score is very hard to please. You time your attacks to be fast, and you have to keep the style meter high. That's a lot to manage, making the skill of an S rank feel rewarding. I do like challenging stuff in my games, but only when it's necessary. Not every game needs to be Elden Ring, but not every game should be a cakewalk. I understand that criticisms of the game is that you want it at a harder difficulty, but you can just select that right off the bat at any point you please.
Tutorials, and more tutorials, so many tutorials. I wouldn't mind them, except for the fact they are constantly interrupting gameplay.
I understand what you mean. I think you misunderstand the identity of the game. The game is a reboot. The idea of the game is to generally hook as many people as possible, so the thing like difficulty is going to be affected. And let's face it, there's a lot to character action games. So many counter timings and moves, and it can really lose the average player. Hell, there are even things in the game that it doesn't even tell you. And worse yet, players see the tutorials but may forget them later on. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a necessary evil. Even Persona 5, the game that doesn't get you started unless like a few hours into the game. So I would rather have a quick, small tutorial than a game that completely holds your hand. Also, you can just turn it off.
If it was only the tutorials, that would be okay, but I also tried to take a page out of the Borderlands book and give every single enemy their own introduction and title card. I was sick of those by the time I had every enemy finally introduced.
The game is trying to teach you the importance of enemies. Know the difference between enemies is key in this game.
I know these type of games are built with replayability in mind. I'm always going to be the first person to preach about how important player expression is. So for me, it becomes frustrating when I want to think outside the box. Maybe get my hands on something that is out of my reach and feel clever about it. But the level design is so focused on railroading you that it feels very restrictive.
I don't think you quite get a character action game. Exploration has always been simple. You move one room and then to the other. It's not complex, cause it doesn't need to be. However, what you're talking about can be done in combat. That's where the creativity comes out to play. And it ain't Starfield, but this game solely focuses on combat. And DMC5 took inspiration from this and followed that formula.
The levels loosen up because now you have all the weapons you need and the experience just becomes crazy fun. And I can only ask myself as I walk through a demonic nightclub listening to some sick beats, where was this awesomeness in the early hours of the game?
Roller when he doesn't see a blinding amount of colors.
What? No, dude!
Jokes aside, I think this point is very weak. Of course, the first 4 levels are going to have more training wheels because that's when you're just getting started in the game. Just like every other game, the first few levels are setting the roadwork for the rest of the game. Mission 1 is the basics of your swords and guns. Mission 2 is about Osiris and Arbiter. Mission 3 is about Angel Glide, but the mission isn't just about teaching you anything. I'd say Mission 4 is the best in the game. Best set pieces crashing through the church, best story, because of how simple the plot is and it gives us a lot of great time for characters and one-liners, and then the best arenas you have are the perfect amount of space and height for combat. So I don't understand the problem with Mission 4, but even then, nearly every game is like this. I see no problem with how the game starts. And just before we move on, you didn't even talk about the bosses, but you literally get a great boss in Mission 1. It's got parrying attacks and everything.
Colors are washed out, the tone is edgy and desperate because mom doesn't understand.
I went over this in my Sphere Hunter section, but edgy is not a criticism, it's simply a tone. There is nothing inherently wrong with the tone in the same way there's nothing inherently wrong with the color. You can't just shut down the character arcs, scenes, and plot lines all because it's edgy. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, this didn't make a bad video, so I wanted to cover the most problematic stuff and leave the rest be. Wouldn't say it's a good video, but it's passable. I've spent years talking about videos that I don't like about DmC Devil May Cry, but there are good videos about DmC Devil May Cry. Hard to believe, I know, but something has changed recently. A lot of these videos have come out fairly recently. I think I know the answer, but before I tell you, let me show you a few examples. First video is from Daniel. Daniel's video is the best at conveying what the average DmC fan thinks. They don't like the story, they prefer the OG series, they didn't like Dante, but the combat and the art direction is good. But because of DmC5, he has given up on hating the game, and finally mentions Hellblade and gives him credit it deserves. He plays devil's advocate for Tamin. While there are a few moments I cringe due to how he talked about the game's story, I found it to be a good middle ground. I think if you like or dislike DmC Devil May Cry, you would like this video. And there is no way this video could have come out in 2013 to 2018. I think this is the underlying negativity. He seems to at least understand the criticisms around the game's development. A lot of people in the DmC community have a terrible line of thinking. Most of them think that Ninja Theory came out of nowhere just to fuck up the series. NT has struggled to stay above water and has dealt backlash even though they didn't really have a choice. It's sad that DmC community has to find out from other people instead of trying to learn for themselves, but yeah, it is what it is. This video is called Learning to Forgive DmC Devil May Cry. I give it a 6 out of 10. It's closer than a 7 than a 5. The next one up is from Chris. Chris goes in depth about the characters, the DLC, and the gameplay. What makes this video different is the fact that he uses others' opinions at the time of the release of each DmC game. He thinks that the bosses are strong and likes the story. He goes over how the DmC Devil May Cry is a reboot, so of course there are going to be differences and changes. I wish I can hear him talk more about the gameplay. He talks about how the opening introduces us to what a more grounded Dante looks like. Let me make this clear. The average DmC Devil May Cry defender is not going to say, I like DmC Devil May Cry Dante because Dante's cool. That's just something we can't define. You'll hear about the gameplay, the art style, and even the story, It's the purists that'll use the argument for their Dante. He also throws a bit of shade at DmC5 for its use of environments not being all that impressive. Now, this video could be much better. His audio is a bit whack and the editing shows trailers on repeat. I think a remake of this video could work. I overall enjoyed his takes. They seem pretty far out, but well put together. The video is called I'm Still Playing DmC Devil May Cry. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's closer than a 6 than a 8. Next one up is Eggs, Beans on Toast. I thought his video was pretty good. He touched upon the gameplay and the story, but the part that I liked the most was the sound section. He mentions both the music from Combichrist and Noisia. Each one has their own part to play. Battle tracks and atmospheric tracks play a key part in the game, and I'm glad somebody finally noticed that. He pointed to Liveless Clubs as an example. This level uses many songs, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. He briefly mentions the motion capture and how low the faces look. This is not only true for DmC Devil May Cry, but also Enslaved. Enslaved came out in 2010. The mocap and the faces are so on point, it's insane. Egg also goes over the controversy and how, while he understands the game, it's pretty great on its own. Overall, this video is really good, and I'm glad he still talks about it today. And I think he plans to make a video on DmC Devil May Cry soon. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. The video is called One Big Unpopular Opinion, DmC Devil May Cry, Retrospective and Review. 8 out of 10. It's closer to a 7 than a 9. Chaser Tech's video is up next. Honestly, I've talked to Chaser Tech before, but not for any good reason. I think I wanted to debate him on jump canceling and how it works in DmC5, and boy, I did terrible. This was my first real debate, and it shows. One of my lines was, with great power comes eat ass. It has, yeah, it's really something. I'm sure some of you can find it, but, I'd rather not talk about it. But aside from that, I looked up to Chaser Tech for a while now, even before he went on his YouTube grind. Chaser Tech is one of the straight-up gameplay tech guys, so everything he likes is usually going to back it up. Unlike some people.
The combat feels like a downgrade from Devil May Cry 1.
Anyway, his video starts off with addressing some of the negative parts of the game, one of which being the air combat, and this is something I can agree with. Ground combat in DmC Devil May Cry is really good. The amount of stuff you can do is insane. I cannot say this for the air combat gameplay. The game really wants you to commit to being in the air. I've talked about this before, and DmC Devil May Cry is built up with stop and start motion. An example of this being Caliber, which moves with the input, but as soon as it's done, there's no momentum after that input. And that's the real weakness of DmC Devil May Cry's air combat. The problem isn't the fact that you can stay in the air easily, it's the lack of options that makes the air combat feel a bit more flat. After this point, Chaser Tech goes over the other part of the gameplay, showing that the game does indeed have depth. Not as much depth as 3, 4, and 5, but depth nonetheless. He even goes over the guns and saying how good the guns are in this game. I've been trying to say this for a long time now, but the guns is what holding the gameplay together. They allow you to juggle enemies, hit multiple enemies, take care of other enemies, and more. The other stuff you can do with Kablooey is a bit wild. He even responds to a certain video making very dumb points. He also mentions Virgil, and I thought this was really good. Yeah, Virgil in DmC Devil May Cry is very underrated. He has some of the best ideas and overall limited moveset. I wished he got talked a bit more about Doppelganger. He even shows off some great gameplay, and for some players. Overall, a fantastic video. Criticisms that are actually fair, and it's really nice to hear. I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. It's closer to an 8 than a 10. The video is called Finding Beauty Through Chaos. Last one up is Johnny. Seeing Johnny hit me with a wave of nostalgia. I remember watching his Sonic videos before I was even a teenager. So when I heard he was going to cover all the DmC games, I got a little bit worried. I didn't think Johnny would pull off a good review. I don't know exactly why, but I had a bad feeling. Thankfully, I was wrong. Johnny quite enjoyed the game. I liked the combat and the story. He didn't like Virgil's downfall, but then again, at first, I didn't either. That being said, I don't think he really adds anything new to the conversation about the game. I like that he praises certain elements, but overall I think this video is a bit weak when compared to the meat of the game. But it's clear he uses a lot of humor, so I get it. I wish this video went a bit more in depth, but it is what it is. I give this video a 7 out of 10. It's closer to an 8 than a 6. The video is called Johnny vs. DmC Devil May Cry. So, you can't... We're in the same video. That means you're giving yourself also a 1 out of 10. Ending Splinter, this is now the second time you've said that to me.
You're just a bunch of losers.
You know, just because you play a clip from a video game doesn't necessarily... Fine, let's move on. So those were some of the main videos I can find about DmC Devil May Cry in a positive light. And guess what they all have in common? They all came out after DmC 5. You see guys, I have a weird theory. I think that DmC 5 has really helped DmC Devil May Cry in more ways than I thought. Not just after DmC 5, but after its drought of content as well. After Virgil came out, DmC really hasn't seen much content recently. Just generally, Capcom doesn't really seem to care about DmC right now, meaning that we can look back on the past without hype attached to it. And when the fog settles, more people are starting to realize that, hey, maybe there is more to this game than I thought. The line of thinking is getting stronger, and it gives me more hope than before. I think we're coming to a time where DmC Devil May Cry 2 wouldn't cause as much of a backlash. DmC Devil May Cry is being more accepted. This leads me more hopeful for the future of DmC. At this point, I really don't care for a DmC Devil May Cry 2, but rather a spiritual successor. But yeah, maybe I'm just dreaming. Either way, I think all of these videos in this section did a good job. So I guess DmC 5 is the one to thank, as weird as that sounds. So for this section, I was going to talk about Flatface's review of DmC Devil May Cry. After watching it, the video is very meh. It wasn't a good video, but not a bad one either, so I decided I wanted to do something more fun. Something new, something exciting. So, for a little bit of background, a buddy named Eddie, or Ed Wolf, check him out on his Twitter. Here it is. Or he goes by Ed Wolf in my server, check that out when you get a chance. He sent me this bingo card for bad DmC Devil May Cry videos, so I thought, what the hell not? So I'll be going over the worst DmC Devil May Cry videos in my ultimate defense video. Now, for the sake of this section, I'm only going to go over 3. So think in the back of your head, what are the worst 3 DmC Devil May Cry videos? To me, it has to be Sphere Hunter, J Reviews, and MangaKamen. I was going to add Hero and Gaming Brit, but I'm not going to do that. For Gaming Brit, he's kind of gone back a lot of what he said on that video, and I'm also not including Hero because 1, his video is only 5 minutes long and covers Dante, and solely Dante, and 2, this time, Hero didn't actually play the game. Yes, for all those who don't know, Hero made a video on why DmC Devil May Cry's Dante is a bad character a year before it came out, so yeah. We'll make this interesting. Whoever gets the most amount of spaces loses, while the winner goes to whoever filled out the least. I will be mentioning who lined them up, just like a normal bingo card. So, let's go. Alright, done. The results are in. I've marked down all the results. I went back over the videos in question, and my conclusion may interest you. First off, nobody got a bingo, which is a little bit disappointing to be sure, but it got close multiple times. I'll start off with Jay Reviews. Now Jay's video only is 11 minutes long talking about the reboot, so of course he was going to be a low number. His total was 7. Near half was about the gameplay, while near half was about the story. Things like Dante, him swearing, and stuff like that I saw coming from a mile away. A lot of what he says shows no understanding of the story of DmC Devil May Cry. During this, he also says that Dante just doesn't have a character arc, which, just like EFAP's takes on Terriers, isn't true. His stuff about the gameplay included color-coded enemies and platforming. In my Ultimate Defense video, I made it clear that platforming in DmC Devil May Cry isn't complicated, and it doesn't need to be. In previous DmC games, it was either walking or to put the thing in a thing. I'd much rather have platforming than what we get in the average DmC game. While J Reviews is short, it's quite ignorant. Remember the time when he said that the color-coded enemies were connected to the loading screens? Good times, yes. In the second place is Sphere Hunter, hitting a whopping 11 in 38 minutes. Now, looking back, there is one credit I have to give to Susie. Susie has played other NT games, which is something worth respecting. However, this doesn't change the fact that Susie made a bad video on the reboot. Now 11 isn't the highest, we'll see, but it's still pretty up there. We'll go over why this video is bad in a different way in a minute. The loser's MangaKamen. Honestly, I was shocked that it hit over 16 in only 23 minutes. I kid you not. Every time I marked one less than a minute or two, I'd hit another one. It's honestly kind of insane. A lot of the points were made in this video are just much better done in other videos. It mostly seemed like he was rapid firing points instead of actually trying to make a point with real impact. Though the most unique angle definitely was the politics part. The part that was tough to sit through by far. Not only because he was projecting a lot of stuff from other games onto this game, but because it felt like he had something that he didn't seem to quite connect. Even in his own video, he mentions that.
I am surprised game journalists even like this game in the first place with all this crap. You'd figure they'd call it sexist.
Yes, Manga, it's almost like the typical woke, or SJW talking points, didn't exist when DmC Devil May Cry came out. The rise of the SJW movement came during 2016, while DmC Devil May Cry released in 2013, and DE released in 2015. So of course we can't apply these ideas when they aren't the same. Saying all of this, I personally think that Susie's video is worse, and it all comes down to how Susie makes original points that are rather, stupid. The DE color-coded enemies, the thing about the police, and the biggest one of all, she keeps thinking that emo Dante is somehow better than the main product, even though it only exists in concept art, one trailer, and only has one line of dialogue. So after all that, what have we learned? Bro, how the fuck am I supposed to know? I just wanted to play some bingo. Leave me alone. Due to my ultimate defense video taking forever, it's only natural that I can quote lines of others with ease. Annoying enemies keep chucking bombs at you.
I mean, oftentimes you'll want to just hook and pull or just plain shoot some of the annoying flying enemies that are chucking bombs at you, but you can't.
Dante, to put it bluntly, is kind of a dick.
With one of the biggest being that Dante is, to put it bluntly, kind of a dick.
Dante is just a guy that eats pizza and likes being crazy. He was never much deeper than that, and he really didn't need to be.
Dante was just a half-demon hybrid that liked killing things and being crazy. He was never much deeper than that, and he didn't really need to be.
So on and so on. Most of these quotes I have in my head simply because I worked on that video for more than 8 months. However, one has been bothering me for a long time. It's this one line from Super Best Friend Plays. It's an exchange between Pat and Wooly.
Did they ever make anything, like, as a part of not their own franchise ever again?
Oh, they made Hellblade.
But that's theirs.
Good to go.
Oh, yeah. No, this is the only thing they ever
This is the
done.
only time they ever strayed outside of their
They
own
took on a license.
original IP as opposed to licensing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, lesson learned.
Make your own stuff.
This one line has been in my head ever since I finished my video, and for a long while I couldn't put my finger on why, until recently. Now, funny enough, the DmC community knows little to nothing about Ninja Theory. The only thing they know is that they created other games, but even though most of them haven't played them. So, let's do a brief rundown. I do a much better job in my background of Ninja Theory section in my old video, but let's go over the important stuff. NT's background is the story of the underdog. Kung Fu Chaos, Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and Heavenly Sword were all games that were good, but never did well financially. At many points in their careers, NT was struggling to pull fun. Always at the edge, always on the tightrope. Even to many other studios, people who looked up to them tend to simply because of what they were going through. Tameen was planning to leave the studio at one point, but knew he couldn't. Their story is inspiring. Enslaved, Heavenly Sword, and DmC Devil May Cry didn't succeed, but Hellblade did. And I'm gonna tell you why. What do all their AAA games have in common? They're all under bigger publishers. They didn't own Enslaved, Heavenly Sword, or DmC Devil May Cry. As soon as it didn't work out, they were dropped like they were nothing. To them, NT was just another one of their tools. They wanted something done, and they did it. NT never had full creative freedom with either of their games, because it wasn't up to them. They were a slave to the corporate machine. They were never good enough. So NT never had a chance. So why did Hellblade do so well? It was easy, because they had control over it. In the diaries, they flat out scratch out multiple parts of the game just because they weren't satisfied with it. That is something that you can't do under a huge studio. They could make their own game the best that they could. They could realize the game under their terms, and many studios can only dream of that. They own Hellblade, unlike past projects. They were trapped in a game they can never win, unless you somehow get that breakout game success, but that's hard to find. They could never make a sequel to the 3 mentioned games, so they could never build on the following. Heavenly Sword, Enslaved, and DmC Devil May Cry all have a good base level. All they need to do is give the games more of a chance, but they were never sadly able to do that. So when Wooly says lesson learned, I cringe, because that's not close to the truth. Enslaved and Heavenly Sword were original IPs, so implying that we should have stuck to that doesn't make sense. But if that was the truth, we wouldn't have DmC Devil May Cry in the first place. Hellblade was a passion project through and through. It wasn't decided on by some suit, but rather what they could do. Even though Hellblade was made by like 20-ish people, they pulled an amazing experience off. It was never about their own IPs, but rather the freedom that they didn't have before. Are they going to fail? Of course. They could have failed, but in doing so they made something amazing. One of the best games I've ever played, no doubt, but no one talks about Ninja Theory's struggle, them being on the edge, the lack of freedom, and how they found success. But the DmC community sees them as the bad guys, how they ruin the series, even though they never think about the other side. But you want to know what the takeaway I've said so far is? Ninja Theory is a great studio that never had the chance under the thumb of companies. NT is at their best when they have control. So if you don't like the studio because of one game, I ask, why? Because it's the only lens people want to see it. Most people are going to compare DmC Devil May Cry off to other DmC games, but not any of their other games, like how the Angel and Demon system was from Heavenly Sword, or like how Monkey and Dante's arcs are extremely similar, but no one talks about it from that angle, because that would challenge people's worldview. But is that you? Will you dare to think that way, or are you stuck in your ways? Are you willing to give faith to Ninja Theory? Are you willing to see the truth? Okay, that was a bit dramatic, but you get what I mean. This one is from Kbash. I like his Persona videos, but his stuff on DmC is mixed at best. I think the video is also way too short for its own good, but let's go over it anyway.
It doesn't matter who the franchise got handed over to, and it doesn't matter what their intentions were. The reality is, they tonally diverged from all 4 of the previous games, and then antagonized the fans for criticizing them.
Alright, Buckaroo, this is totally not giving any faith to the creators. You start off your sentence by saying the intentions don't matter. What in the Jesus are you talking about? The justice system is built by intentions. Whole perspectives can be changed because of intentions. So let me demonstrate why this setup doesn't make any sense. I know this example is going to be extreme, but I'm going for it anyways. If a thief breaks into your house and you shoot him to defend yourself and the judge goes, "Damn, I don't care about your intentions. You killed a guy." Don't you think that would be a little bit stupid? Your intentions can be key to whatever you're doing, so throwing that away entirely doesn't make sense. So putting that out of the picture when you think about this reaction doesn't work. Speaking of something like that, NT didn't antagonize the fans, it was the fans that sent the death threats in the first place. NT and Capcom played it off cool, but they still listened to feedback. They literally changed Dante to be closer to the original after the main teaser. And DE shows that they even took every little criticism into account and tried to fix it. To me, it looks like this game listened to the fans, but no matter what changes they made, the backlash didn't change the outcome.
One thing that's not my cup of tea is since you now have the Devil and Angel weapon at all times with easy access, some enemies are immune to anything but damage from that type of weapon, so if you don't like one, tough shit.
Fixed in DE, also the enemy types in 3 and 4 are worse. Also, the color-coded enemies are to help the player understand what they normally need to play with.
They changed Devil Trigger in this one. I'm not really sure why. It somehow feels incredibly strong and yet completely useless. Fair enough.
I don't know what this statement means, and he doesn't explain, so I just wish he explained more.
That's such a video game thing. Obviously nobody in the world put this shit here just for such an occasion, as Dante coming along with his magical angel scythe to shred the fibers. It's contrived and unnecessary, but whatever, okay.
Okay, strange point, but I get what he means, an odd thing to mention, but okay.
Platforming, like the combat, has that kind of kindergarten Simon Says feeling built into it. You see a red mark and you use the demon whip. You see a blue ball, you use the angel whip, but watch out. Sometimes you have to alternate, and it might trip you up if you can't differentiate between red and blue. These were excessively boring, but I am sure that people who love menial tasks would also love this.
You know guys, I think this might be it for me. Let's look back and see what other DmC games did to put in between combat sections. Woo! Walking! Yes! Thank you, DmC! This is what I want! Oh, stick the thing and put it in the thing. Oh, yeah! Oh, boy! Here it comes! Backtracking! I just can't contain myself! Woo! See what I mean? Why does no one bring up the traversal in past DmC games? Why is it suddenly cared about when talking about DmC Devil May Cry? I think this is a major double standard. I'd rather play red light, green light than have to walk to some place or put a thing in a thing. DmC 5 took inspiration from this. 3 and 4 were simply small open worlds split into different places. While in 5 and DmC Devil May Cry it's more straightforward, and to be honest, I like this change.
But is now set in a world where demons run the world via propaganda akin to Fox News, demon drugged soda of all things, and mass public surveillance.
I hope that the subtleties of this very nuanced setting aren't lost on the very pedant consumer base.
It's not trying to be subtle, it's trying to build a world for you. One of the frequent story elements that people misunderstand about DmC Devil May Cry is that the anti-consumerism isn't all the story is about. But really, a story about humanity is reflected by Virgil and Mundus. The Soda and the Fox News, while trying to share a message, is trying to use that for world building that adds some more depth to the narrative and story. For example, in previous DmC games, I could rarely mention key parts of the open world storytelling wise. Like 4, it's a jungle, a castle, a town, and an underground base. There are exceptions, of course, but I could not really tell you a thing about each. From the tower in 3, there was just, I can't tell you anything about each part. In DmC Devil May Cry, however, we get to see a small town that is alive and hunting you, soda factories that come to life, and how it's made. We get to see Bob's prison along with the corporate hell. See what I mean? There is a story reason to what we're looking at. There is context you need to know. That doesn't mean that 4 and 3's art designs are bad, per se. I personally do love 4's look, but that doesn't mean that there's a reason behind the design.
I'll give you that being an incredibly powerful badass is not relatable, but how the fuck is that the point of Devil May Cry? It's an escapist power trip. Let me have it.
DmC Devil May Cry does have its power trip moments too. Dante still has the one-liners, just executed differently. I disagree with Dante being more relatable. I think it comes down to him being more grounded. Relatable can be different from person to person. Grounded, on the other hand, can be put in a sense we can all understand. Like Dante coming from the streets and being from a poor background. Something like he mentions at the end of the game and at Virgil's downfall. The OG Dante, while fun to watch, really isn't grounded. Nearly everything about him that he does is over the top. For at least 3 and 4, Dante at least. DmC Devil May Cry shows that what Dante would like if we were to put him into our world. Hence the grounded setting. Whether you like it or not is up to you, but that's what this Dante is trying to get across.
Dante's like stupid. It's like there's like a fucking giant spider that comes down and he's like, heh, looking hot.
So instead, right, Dante sees a giant hideous slug thing that threatens to kill him and he doesn't care. He just cracks a joke and they swear at each other. It's so devoid of substance or dignity or anything.
You're taking away all the substance of the scene. DmC1 Dante, minus the swearing, would do the same thing. Even with that clip from the Game Grumps when throwing around a few different words can be described the same way. Dante makes fun of her looks, her age, and Dante even does a little bow when addressed by her. It's clear that Dante's having fun in the same way all the other Dantes are. See, I actually describe the scene rather than just taking away all the detail that goes around it.
Cat exists in relation to these two men and is not an individual. Good writing, guys.
Yeah, dude, totally. It's not like there was a shit ton of scenes of Cat's past and how it affects her in any way. I really don't understand the Cat hate. There is just so much time dedicated to the character. The car scene alone tells us everything about the character that we need to know. DmC girls have big personalities, mostly because they live in the DmC story. Nearly everyone has a sense of personality that can be easily spotted. This is where Cat sticks out. But there is a story reason for this. She was abused most of her life by a demon, so of course she would be shyer and more recluded. She later killed the demon that abused her, so of course she was one of the main reasons Mundus was brought down. Which nobody talks about, by the way. Her plan is the reason Mundus is taken care of. And this is all due to her surviving under torture.
Dante experiences character development, and that's great, good stuff. But these other guys are basically cardboard.
Dante's arc isn't all in isolation. Of course he has an arc because Dante is the main character, but the arc builds with other characters. Cat is one of the main reasons why Dante has a change of heart. And through Virgil we get to see why Dante needs to change. Virgil is the reflection of Dante at the beginning of the game. Facing off against Virgil and learning to care about Cat is what makes the story work. Does Virgil and Cat have an arc in the literal sense? No. However, that doesn't mean by default they are cardboard cutouts. If you're saying that, you don't understand what makes Dante's arc work in the first place. At least it was over quickly. I don't think it's the worst video I've seen. No, we'll get to you later. The best way to describe Kbash's video is ignorant. I can tell that he just really doesn't care. Like his comments on Cat and Virgil. I don't think I need to say this, but I will anyway. Cat and Virgil play a key part in the story, and they have tons of scenes just explaining both their characters. Through Dante we see this, and through Dante we learn about them both. Just because they don't have an arc doesn't mean that they're cardboard cutouts. In this video, he's just rushing over points rather than explaining anything. Like the video game thing, where he's like, oh yeah, you have to cut the scythe with the thing. It's like, who cares? there isn't a story explanation for the blue weed thing, so why does this matter? He doesn't even seem to care. So I won't either. I just want to say right off the bat, I'm no music expert. So I was going to break down each song, but I'm not well equipped to do that. However, I do want to talk about the music part of the game. This is an element that is quite overlooked about the game. However, there is one big thing I can cover. The age-old question. Which one is better, Noisia or Combichrist? This is a giant question that people haven't been able to solve until today. Today we settle the debate once and for all. But let's back up. Usually there is a composer for a game with a few licensed track or one band that does most of the music. DmC Devil May Cry is where things get a bit weird. There is no real or notable composer for DmC Devil May Cry. There is only Noisia and Combichrist. Each group plays their part. Noisia is mostly for the atmospheric tracks and some boss fights, while Combichrist is mostly there for the battle tracks and some boss fights. So before we get into the heart of it, I will not be counting the licensed tracks, such as Throat Full of Glass, Never Surrender, and WTF is Wrong With You People. And if you don't know, they are played in the intro, the first battle, one played during Mundus' spawn fight, oh yeah, and the credits if anybody cares. Never Surrender and Throat Full of Glass is from Combichrist album Making Monsters, while WTF is Wrong With You People is from the album of the same name. There are other licensed tracks from Combichrist that are played during Lilith's Club, but I won't mark these because they weren't made for DmC Devil May Cry in mind. Let's start off with Combichrist, since they tend to get the most attention for this game's soundtrack. Combichrist makes alternative/industrial metal for this game's battle themes. Now, the first thing to understand is that alternative/industrial metal and heavy metal are not the same thing. The average metal song or artist you may think of is not the same as industrial/alternative metal. And industrial is closer to what the soundtrack sounds like, so I'll be calling it that from here on out. The difference is that industrial metal has elements of dark synths, hearth electronics, and agrotech. Anyone know why that's important? Yes, you in the back, Splinter. Is it because their past music beforehand was solely agrotech/harsh electronics? Correct, Splinter. You're my favorite student. You see, before Combichrist had even heard of a DmC, they had songs like Get Your Body Beat, which hit top billboards for the dance singles charts. Does the average DmC Devil May Cry battle track sound like a dance song played in clubs? Of course not. So here's what I think happened. Remember that original teaser for DmC Devil May Cry? You remember the song that was played for the teaser? It was very electronic, right? Here's what I think happened. Combichrist was brought onto the project for the agrotech side of the music. Some point during the teaser, DmC Devil May Cry took a turn for a more grunge style. And to fit that style, they wanted to appear more metal for the approach. But Combichrist still wanted to remain on the project, so they switched up their sound to fit the game. So because of that, we get a mix between metal and agrotech, giving this side of DmC Devil May Cry's soundtrack a very unique sound. Hey, Future Splinter here. I just wanted to add real quick that apparently I wasn't too far off. Check out this clip from an interview.
But when DmC came out, the cool thing about DmC was that the game was done. And so I didn't have to come up with an idea or a feeling or a concept or anything. I had the battle scenes in front of me. It was just like, all right, we need music for the battle scenes. Okay.
So you would just watch it or play? Did you play it or did you watch it?
No, I was just watching I was watching the fight scenes over and over again on loop, like for each song that I was writing. Like I was just sitting there and I was like, so it came to me really, really easily. And then it wasn't supposed to be that heavy on the metal side. It was supposed to be more electronic. But then the more it went that way, like the guy I worked with at the Ninja Theory, the music director at the time, he was like, yeah, this is it. Continue with this. This is great. And I was like, all right, cool. And this is just what I want to do. So cool. So it was super easy.
Anyway, back to the video. One of the two reasons I told you this is because it affects Combichrist today. After DmC Devil May Cry, Combichrist would have to mix up their style to straight up either agrotech or straight up metal. Industrial metal, that being. Now, some of Combichrist fans like or dislike this change, but it's up to the fan themselves. The second reason I wanted to bring this up is that it's context around the sound of Combichrist's addition to this game. It's more than just metal. It's industrial metal with a history of harsh electronics. Now that we understand that, we can finally talk about No Redemption, the name of Combichrist's part of DmC Devil May Cry's soundtrack. The way to describe this part of the sound of the OST is dirty. The guitars and the bass are somewhat grimy, while before DmC had a very clean sound, drums are a bit more in front and center, the solo also falls under the same sound. It's not like Andy's yelling per se, it's more so that he's channeling his inner demon. The vocals fit for the rest of the song quite well. The choruses aren't the real part of the song or the album itself that sticks out. It's the core riff that makes up the music. So, for example, MGR's choruses are peak for the main boss fight, and it's what makes me love that song so much. It's put into focus during the end of the boss fight. However, in DmC Devil May Cry, the battles put emphasis on the instrumental part, not the choruses. That's because there is rarely any breakdowns in each song. Each has a core beat, and they use it in every battle. In DmC 5, you have to build up to it, while in DmC Devil May Cry, the music is very consistent, letting each fight being as exciting as the last. Another positive is the obvious one. There are 13 tracks on No Redemption. Think Zarathustra. I don't have to listen to the same track every fight. I'm looking at you, DmC3. So most of the tracks are pretty great, and it fits with the style of the game. So what about the negatives? Well, some tracks sound really low effort. Clouds of War and Age of Mutation need to be better. They don't really have the same energy as the rest of the album. The other negatives is the music. They don't really connect to Dante. For example, the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack had many tracks that directly connected to the plot of the game. No Redemption feels like it connects with the style and gameplay, but not the story and characters. Other than that, I think that No Redemption is a great album. I'm sad that nobody talks about it enough. Next up is Noisia. This one is also a hard one to judge. Noisia has over 36 tracks, but the hardest part is the fact that most of the tracks are atmospheric, meaning it can only be judged in the context of the game. So let's go over the boss fights. The boss fight songs are generally pretty good. They're upbeat but also dark, which most of them are bangers. They convey the amount of danger needed for the bosses. The next part is the atmospheric track. They range from cinematic to house, which makes it hard to judge, but Home Truths and Remembers are just so sad. The themes for the tense cutscenes are great too. They build tension and suspense. Now, let's get to the part that you all want to hear. Which is better, Noisia or Combichrist? Before I tell you, I wanted to mention that both of them do a great job. That's one of the reasons why they are both so difficult to judge. Each play their part in the game. Without either, the game would fall apart. So I think the true answer here is Combichrist. They are front and center. Most of the time, musically, there is no mistake that Combichrist put the most amount of effort. I think the real answer comes down to one thing. Each Combichrist song sounds different. Sure, some of them are dull, but each have a gimmick or a certain pattern that sticks out. While Noisia songs tend to kind of merge together, a lot of them don't sound super different. And when it comes down to the cinematic stuff, I don't think that they did a well of a good job. Well of a good job? Yeah, that's English. Don't get me wrong, Home Truths is a banger, but a lot of songs are similar to movies and TV. On that own, that's fine, but a video game needs to have more personality to deal with its length and gameplay wise. Yes, Lilith Club, Crush Him, and Bob's songs are great, don't get me wrong. When it comes down to it, if you give me a boss fight or a battle theme of the average track, you bet I'm choosing the battle track. Simply because there is more personality. If you think differently, that's totally fair. That's because both do a great job. And I don't think that Combichrist is better than Noisia, but wins just barely. Oh god. Glad that's over. Let's move on. But you know what game has a better soundtrack? Persona 3, baby! This one's super fun. Snake has watched one too many Mortal Kombat stories. This video is a snack for the main event, so lay back, relax, and have fun.
Looking back on specifically the encounter with Poison, you know, the most memorable scene in the game where not a single line of dialogue isn't the very height of cringe, I realised that this Dante is written like he's trying to imitate the real Dante's wit. Not the writers trying to imitate it, but the character himself.
My Ginger, what does this even mean? The main way the writer can talk is through the story. Is OG Dante cool, or are the writers cool? I don't know, guys. It's a really tough question. This is a ridiculous way to start a video. It sounds smart, makes little sense though.
And that's when it hit me. Imagine how much better the plot of the game could have been had this Dante turned out to simply not be Dante. Imagine if Donnie had turned out to be some punk kid the real Dante had saved from a demon and was inspired to try and be like Dante, going so far as to use his name and copy his fighting style and mannerisms, but doing so poorly.
Dante is the main face of DmC. When people think of DmC, they go straight towards Dante. Having Dante in the lead role matters. Second, let's get into the minds of the reboot hater, okay? We got the reboot sucks, the color code, Dante, not Dante, he Dante, alright? All of the times Dante tries to be cool and doesn't succeed. Alright, cool. We understand that, right? How does this help that problem? You made an annoying character named Dante into an annoying character not named Dante. So if you don't like the way the character acts, then just make him change his actions. You're not really fixing anything. You're not really adding anything of substance.
His attempts at copying Dante's wit just piss the demons off, and his sloppy move execution leaves him unable to adequately defend himself, so Dante has to keep saving him. You can easily imagine a scene where Dante gets fed up of saving him after doing so for the umpteenth time, leading to a harsh lecture.
I'm seeing a trend here. I'll tell you why in a minute.
This could lead to him seeking out demonic powers like Arius, Arkham and Sanctus, turning him into a Syndrome-esque villain that Dante has to fight at the end.
Do you see the trend here? I do. Dante doesn't become Dante, but a cheap copy. The reboot Dante gets lectured, and Dante becomes the villain. This isn't to make the character better, it's to belittle him. Snake doesn't want to improve the character, no. He just wants to humiliate him. It's a weird way of getting revenge, even though that it misses the whole center of the story.
So the theory is that he just thinks he's Dante. This could even explain the much darker depiction of the world and the way Limbo breaks apart the human world. He's living in a delusion and only thinks the world is like this, falling into all kinds of conspiracy theory bullshit.
Ninja Theory has gone out of its way to look up how psychosis works. And I don't think that anyone could ever say that when it comes to mental illness, people just literally imagine their world literally tearing to pieces, like it does in Limbo, or how I just don't know why you would want to make one of the coolest features of DmC, Devil May Cry. Oh, it's actually all in the guy's head. Yeah, this is just spec off the line. You know, this is just mental illness. The game. I don't know why.
What? Are we seriously doing its own Lahead story? That doesn't even work for this kind of story. The consumerism falls into the themes of the story about humanity. If it's all in Lahead, then that theme goes completely away, not to mention takes away from the grander arc as a character.
Reboot Virgil is thus not actually Virgil, nor even Donnie's brother. He's just a conspiracy theory dipshit that Donnie looks up to and sees as a kindred spirit, thus tricking himself into thinking he's his brother and needs to be found.
Did you not play the end of the game? He literally ended up being the same character as the original. What the fuck are you talking about?
What? Why? The whole connection to each other is because they are brothers. This leads them to understand themselves. This also makes the betrayal much deeper. They reflect each other not just for the sake of the plot, but for the sake of the characters.
They fight their way through the demonic monsters protecting him and...
Monsters? They look like monsters to you?
Uh-oh.
In this version of this story, demons don't exist.
No, the idea of this version is that this reboot, remember Reboot? Takes place in the same world as mainline DmC. And this Dante that you play as is actually a psychopath who escaped the fucking penitentiary that had, the asylum that had Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal. And the real Dante shows up and tells you, hey, don't you take my name and kill people, because killing people is bad. But DmC2, shut up. Anyways, and then that's the plot, because we can't have Dante be a different character. It has to be he still has to be in the story.
The truth is revealed as the real Dante enters Ryder's office to stop them. He's not a demon, he's just an asshole.
Then what's his part in the story? In the game, he's a main antagonist that ties deeply into our main character. The whole character journey is because of Mundus. Through Mundus, Dante and Virgil's life were changed for the worst. Not only that, but Mundus's end speech mirrors Virgil, showing that the theme of humanity. But let's say he isn't one of the key factors of Dante's arc. Then what does he do? Is Dante think he's bad because he did tax evasion or something?
All this time, their delusional conspiracy theories have led them to kill countless humans. Some were probably deserving of death, but most of them were innocent civilians or security guards just doing their job. They allowed their delusions to warp people they disagreed with into evil monsters to justify committing acts of terrorism.
So Dante went from a protagonist that goes on a journey to better himself and takes responsibility for the protection of humankind. But now he's quite literally just crazy, a copycat that isn't cool, and that murders multiple humans. Bro, what the fuck? So Dante, this whole time, is styling on people left and right. So like, if a 5-year-old girl comes up to Dante, do you think Dante thinks she's a demon? And if so, does Dante just start fucking air comboing her? That sounds hilarious. Please, please, for Snake, make that happen. That concept is so funny.
Rather than an overdone, not particularly interesting critique of the power of media and consumerism, a theme I've always found baffling in works of consumerist media.
It's not just a piece of consumerist media, it's also art, and art can reflect reality. And just because it may be consumerist, that doesn't mean it can't make a commentary on consumerism. Just because someone may have wealth, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be anti-capitalist.
The story is actually about mental health and the lengths people go to justify committing horribly disproportionate acts against people whose views and actions they disagree with.
Dante murdering multiple people doesn't back up a good depiction of mental health. Also, how does this even work for an arc? In the game, Dante goes through a meaningful arc that gives a lot of time and energy put into. But here, he just kills a bunch of people and goes, "Ruh-roh, Shaggy," and the story just stops? How is this story better?
Plus, Ninja Theory did have an interest in the former theme going off their subsequent project.
But saying Hellblade and DmC story can apply to each other is just strange. Okay, Virgil's downfall, maybe, but Senua's journey is to make the viewer understand what psychosis is. Everything around the game is built that way, even the gameplay.
The game would probably end on a sinister note, with the now institutionalized cat claiming her name is Lady as a tease for the cycle continuing in a sequel that would never happen.
What does it add? So, let's say this happens. What then? Does Cat just beat the shit out of children as well? And does this help the so-called depiction of mental health?
Yeah, 5 minutes of my fucking time, and it's just to tell me, yeah, I got a better story. What if she was mentally ill? Shut the fuck up.
Well, that was something. I think this proves that writing fanfic is harder than it seems. I also think this proves that the DmC fandom does not know how to write a good story. A lot of the fan so-called fixes can tend to be just as bad as this one. I'm not opposed to somebody writing fanfic about DmC Devil May Cry, but please understand what the story is trying to do in the first place, and that's the key difference from DmC Devil May Cry and this fanfic. Snake doesn't really care for what the story was going for, so he made up whatever he wanted instead. This also proves that DmC Devil May Cry is better than most people give it credit for. If DmC Devil May Cry was terrible like most people would say it is, this story would have been miles ahead. Oh well, at least this video is funny.
Oh yeah, this is definitely like a war story. Not gonna lie, I would read this if it was a fan fiction, and then I'm gonna like dox the person who wrote it. That's how
okay, we can't dox people on YouTube.
Listen, I never asked for your help, but you gave it, and I appreciate it. I trust you. You can trust me too.
Come on then.
Let's do this!
This is it, guys. The worst DmC Devil May Cry video I've ever seen. I've seen and heard so much shit about this game, but this video honestly takes my breath away every time. Every other video you've seen has been child's play. Don't worry. However, DmC Devil May Cry is one of the greatest Oh, wait a second. We aren't there yet. Oh yes, this will be fun. He says the most out there things, yet never backs it up. His comments on the gameplay lacks depth, the story section is horrible, and the understanding of the game in general. Oh boy, we are in for a ride of a lifetime. The boys even joined in. Oh, you're gonna love it. So, welcome ladies and gamers, because now we cover the worst DmC Devil May Cry video.
And if we look into the Devil May Cry series, it is considered to be one of the best video game franchises of all time, releasing banger after banger after banger after probably one of the greatest video game masterpieces of all time.
Just called it the greatest game, one of the greatest masterpieces.
This guy is dick riding so bad right now, dude. I love DmC.
The dick riding?
I love DmC, but Jesus Christ, it's not one of the greatest franchises of all time.
Exactly.
No, because if it was, it wouldn't be niche as it is in terms of the way to play it.
Oh, also, keep in mind that he called DmC5 one of the greatest masterpieces of all time. I will bring that up over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, so right off the sword, I want to mention this. This is something that seems minor, but it's something that I want to point out. The DmC series is not one of the best franchises of all time. Every second someone talks about the old series before talking about DmC Devil May Cry, they portray it as being flawless, when that just isn't the case. For his example, he brings up 1, 3, 4, and says 5 is a masterpiece. Notice how he completely skipped over 2. Not only that, but 1 is incredibly outdated. While being good looking at the time, the gameplay is super one note outside of its challenge. I know some people who play 3, 4, Reboot, and 5, but no one really plays 1, and of course, the story isn't all that good. You thought I was going to play the Fill Your Dark Soul with Light clip. Welcome to the Splinter channel. We play on your expectations. Here we know DmC 1 is still an okay game, but it hasn't aged well. 4 is a whole can of worms. 4 is probably the hardest to talk about other than the reboot. 4 has its own share of upsides, but its own form of flaws too. But to be clear, that game is not a masterpiece. And lastly, we talk about 5. Oh boy, the DmC community needs to understand that 5 has issues. The DmC community has this sense of toxic positivity when it comes to this game. 5 definitely has issues. And I'm tired of people saying that that's not the case. The breaker system, reversals, inertia, color palette, Dante's lack of balance, Virgil's doppelganger, and don't even get me started on V. 5 has its issues, and that's okay. It's by no means a bad game, it just has issues worth addressing. I played the ever-loving shit out of that game, but that doesn't mean that the game is perfect. No. So all this to say, the DmC games aren't perfect. They're just things that can be improved upon. Even 3, which I can say is the best in the series, has its issues. In particular, its enemy design. So stop hyping up other games in the series where, just like the reboot, it has its flaws. Oh, before we go any further, he called DmC5, let me see here, one of the greatest masterpieces of all time, which I've already went over why I think that's very false, but I want to point this out for 2 main reasons. 1, this is a theory that was brought up by Blast on my live stream that DmC5 attracts the worst kind of people. And 2, I will quote this line multiple times because of how simply stupid it is.
It is fucking horrible mess of dumpster fire diarrhea projected right into my oral cavity and sprinkled with some no-no words and sex every 3 seconds.
The only sex scene there is at the beginning of the game, then it shows up a little bit later on, and the last time it's mentioned is in the Demon's Den. By the by, turns out those sex scenes are meant to convey something about Dante's character. This is talked about at mission 18, where Virgil and Dante both open up to each other about the lack of control in their life. This connects Dante to Virgil in a very meaningful way, showing how they have the same problem, yet coped with it differently.
Where'd you learn to do that?
What? That computer stuff. Hacking? Taught myself as a kid. I guess it gave me a sense of control.
Control? We never had that, did we?
No. I always felt that something was amiss, hidden from me.
So did I. It's like a burning feeling inside.
Exactly. But I knew that peeled back the bullshit was actually out. Guess I knew that energy that You? How'd you find release?
Killing demons and getting laid. But the computer stuff, that sounds good too.
But after suffering through more than 30 hours of this pathetic excuse of a game,
played 30 hours of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone here who has at the bare minimum like over 60 hours on the game, your opinions are irrelevant. He played 30 hours of it. He knows more than you do.
Exactly. He knows more than us. He's clearly enlightened. He's the YouTuber. He must be right.
His editing skills say that, and his memes are funny, unlike DmC Devil May Cry. I find poop jokes funny.
Yes, you heard that right. 30 hours of this game, and as you will see, he still plays like garbage. This man has 30 hours in the game, so, you know, how could I compete with that?
The combat feels like a downgrade from Devil May Cry 1 that came out way back in 1984 when dinosaurs were walking among us.
Oh my god. Reboot, what?
Has anyone actually played Dante Must Die? There, you can pretty much kill every enemy with Inferno and just use the grenade launcher. It's like it breaks the game practically.
Exactly, and it's not really about fighting every single enemy because they don't lock you in a room like 3, 4, and 5, and the reboot do. So comparing those two, it's just people pleasing because this guy's clearly a guy who played the games retroactively with DmC 5 person that he was following and told him, which is like 3, 4, and 1.
We should just start calling DmC 5 that.
The greatest masterpiece.
The greatest masterpiece. Whoa, that was certainly a take. You must be smoking something wild to believe that. Okay, look, I can understand not being as deep as 3, 4, or 5, but 1? Objectively, DmC Devil May Cry has more moves and more depth, easily. You can only have 1 weapon, 1 gun. You have to go to the pause menu to switch weapons, a pause menu, and most of the weapons that you have the same moveset. And it has the combat of the underwater sections. What? On the other side, we have 5 weapons that each require more than 1 button, all completely different movesets, 3 guns, and with a give and dodge button. That's far more than DmC 1 ever could dream of. In terms of everything, DmC Devil May Cry has more than DmC 1. The combat of DmC Devil May Cry is easy to understand yet rewarding to the most amount of players. DmC 1's combat is super simplified with very little depth compared to DmC Devil May Cry. You must have hit yourself hard to think that 1 is somehow better. But let's hear out his full argument one by one.
Every time you try to play the game and do something cool, the game goes like, okay, stop, wait, no, stop. Do not try anything cool, okay, stop. Okay, now you can play the game. Oh, stop. Did I just catch you having fun? No, you're not supposed to have that.
He'll talk a bit more about it in a second, but first I wanted to talk something at its core level. All enemies have a roadblock of some sorts. While frustrating the first time in any game, this is how basic game design works. There are going to be obstacles in your way, and it's up to you, the player, to overcome them in some fashion. Like in the Persona games. If you get hit with a shadow that doesn't have a weakness, then it might feel like it sucks. But that's because you have to adapt to the situation. So yeah, I can't spam the weaknesses now. Now I have to come up with a strategy to help me get through it.
Every single enemy type in this game makes you want to tear your hair out, because each and every one of them limits what weapons you need to use to win. You see this guy? Use fists. Oh, shields? Use an axe. This spirit from Dead by Daylight? Use these things.
Oh man, this is the video that just keeps on giving. Where do I start? Let's break this down. The first 3 enemies are the main meat of the point. So let's go over the first one, is Baffling. The Tyrant is weak to everything. The fist isn't the only weapon that can be used for this choice. That's the only preferred use if you're going straight into it. You shouldn't be doing that, because, get this, there is a weakness on his back. You can use this for damage, claw, and my personal favorite, using the guns. Do these things and the Tyrant will fall to a weakness state, which can be used for more damage and even more combos. How is the game's fault for not understanding so simple? You yourself even use the claw in your footage. So what is the conclusion that you came to think that Eric's is the strongest weapon against the Tyrant? If anything, it's the axe. And don't worry guys, he won't explain how he came to this conclusion, in case you are wondering. Knights don't have to be taken down with the Arbiter. You can use Eric's for this situation. You can even go around them if you're feeling spicy. But Here's the thing. As soon as you get rid of that shield, it's done for. It's vanished into the shadow realm. It ain't coming back, like for real, Buster. Or better yet, just use the claw. Then the problem is dealt with, and the witches can be dealt with using the angel weapons. Or you can just straight up parry the 3 projectiles and knock down the shield, and you can just go to town. His examples are enemies that have one roadblock that can easily be surpassed. Even after DmC Devil May Cry, there are games like this in DmC. Nello Angelos have to be broken first before you can juggle them. Something similar is done with the Hell in Tenora. I'm probably saying that wrong. They will go into a DT state. Funny enough, this exactly happens in DmC Devil May Cry for the Ravenger, in fact. Nello Angelos came from what game again? Hold on. DmC 5? Oh, but it has a title on the box that says...
Probably one of the greatest video game masterpieces of all time.
One of the greatest masterpieces of all time? Damn, false advertising, I guess.
Imagine you are playing Devil May Cry 3 and the game goes like, oh, you see these dudes? The only way to deal any damage to them is to use funny talking swords. Have fun, dumbass.
Yeah, he's saying that imagine you're playing DmC 3 and you're forced to change weapons. I'm like, okay, like, if I'm allowed to equip every weapon in the game, and the game tells me, oh yeah, these enemies can only be hurt by this weapon, so you need to break their defense with this weapon in order to... I'm like, yeah, that's the game encouraging you to switch your styles. It's almost like the game is encouraging you to experiment.
To even break their defense to begin with, and if you don't know what that is, you may as well bust out your fucking calculator on your Microsoft PC, and that'll be your trainer for the rest of your fucking life, and that's how you'll get good at DmC 3.
I have
DmC 3.
I just had to go on about that.
Well, good sir, you just made my point for me. DmC 3 does do something like this. In DmC 3, there are enemies that can only take damage to shoot them. Oh, what about the angels that stay in the air and clip through the walls and the ground at any time? Oh, my favorite, the enemy that you have to turn around and wait to attack to do damage? You see, when applied to the reboot, all gloves are off, but when the older games do it, it's as if it never existed.
Very hard to find an enemy which is not a color-coded garbage. Seriously, Devil May Cry 2 had better enemies. Who thought that this is a good idea?
Bro, magic. Get your skill up, not your funny up. This point doesn't even make sense. Oh no, I have to use hold 2 weapons in the base game. Versus, the enemies literally won't attack me. I guess this is where the real disconnect is. Not every enemy is going to let you combo on them the second you see them. Some enemies are more challenging. So the only way he thinks that 2's enemies is better is because they're punching bags. Well, I don't like the color-coded enemies, but saying that 2's enemies literally do nothing on normal difficulty, just to mention that again, is better, is madness, and foolish at the same time. He doesn't even hand out, like, proper examples. He just says stuff like this off the cuff. I'd also like to mention that in DT, you can easily hit any of the color-coded enemies, but the best part of this video is that later on, he'll say that DT doesn't do anything meaningful.
Because you're forced to use a specific playstyle of shooting it first and then dealing damage. But luckily, you didn't have to fight this guy too many times. Well, in this stinker, everyone is Blitz.
Blitz is a bad enemy, is because he is antithetical to every other enemy out there. He does not take his time with attacking you. His attacks are AoE, so if he attacks one enemy and you're just in the way, fuck you, you take the hit as well. He doesn't actually have a wind-up for many of his attacks. Like, the only reason you know he's going to attack you is because you already taken the abuse, and you know how to time when he's going to show up and do either a lunge attack or a basic attack, or he literally just teleports right in front of you and he's just already starting a swipe to hit you in the face. Like, Blitz is an awful enemy because of everything around that, on top of the fact that you have to shoot him first in order to hit him a little bit, and then he goes into this, if you don't kill him immediately, he will go all kamikaze on your ass, where he's going to do, his attacks do even more damage, and there's a high chance he will grab you and Allahu Akbar himself to do massive damage.
Alright, he's pumping out the band's worst hits. Let's briefly go over the Blitz. In DmC 4, Blitz was a terrible enemy because you had to use the same set of moveset for everything. For example, Nero, you need to use the charge shot and dodge. With Dante, you need to spam Lucifer and dodge. The reason why Blitz doesn't work is simply because the options you have are so limited. The only counter argument I've heard is that if you guard at the last second of an attack with Dante, but this is only at the highest levels of play. The average player doesn't know about this, let alone being an option against the Blitz. So let's compare this to literally every enemy in DmC Devil May Cry. For the Harpies, it's recommended that you use the shotgun, but you don't need that to take it down. It's recommended to use the claw on the enemies with the shields, but you don't need that to take the enemy down. You don't need the attacks of the tyrant on the back to do damage. Do you see the pattern now? Sure, there is a move or a weapon that is recommended, but you can still use a lot in your kit to deal with the situation at hand. Even the color-coded enemies that have you play against in DE, Magic, what kind of drugs are you on? This point doesn't even make sense.
I think this enemy in particular really encapsulates everything that is awful with this game. This chick has a shield that you need to break with a specific weapon. Then you can do like 5 seconds of damage to her, and then she teleports away with a new shield. Awesome. You can also parry the daggers she throws at you, which is very hard, considering how janky hitboxes are in this game.
What specific weapon? Huh? Better yet, how can you not parry the projectiles? All you need to do is hold prop. Okay, let's back up before I get a nosebleed. There are tons of ways to take care of the witch. The first one being is the shield. You can deal with the shield in 3 ways. 1. Parry the projectiles. 2. Attack head-on with the angel weapons. Or 3. Attack other enemies, that way she throws the shield and leaves her wide open. While she does teleport away, as if you... By the way, you can use round trip to stop that. And charged up moves, you can take advantage of this period. Once you understand how the witch works, you can understand how to take care of it.
There are also these flying guys that are impossible to fight because they can just cast an AoE that you cannot cancel when they feel like that they took enough damage, and they can spam it too. And speaking about the spam, take an educated guess what this game likes to do with these enemies.
1, 2, 3, 4. No. Why is this even a problem? Just use your shotgun. You can have it and take care of them easily. Or even use Kablooey if you want to stack more damage. This isn't rocket science.
I don't know what kind of hardcore drugs you need to insert in your anal cavity to think that a game like Devil May Cry doesn't need a focus mechanic, but that was the decision they made.
This game's not even trying. It's just like insulting, saying poop and ass.
Yep, that's how it is for like most of the video. And his criticisms that he does bring up is so bad. Yeah. You piss, haha. Just to mention the 400th time, lock-on is on DE. Then secondly, lock-on isn't needed. Is lock-on good? Yes. But it isn't needed as in a character action game, okay? Heavenly Sword, Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and Hi-Fi Rush are all character games without lock-on, and I still haven't heard a complaint about the lack of lock-on in those games. If I could add lock-on to vanilla, I would, but that doesn't mean the death of an action game. I have watched this video a few times for the sake of the project, but he never, mentioned DE once. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know it exists. And look, I get it, it's a console exclusive, but everyone should have a PS4 and an Xbox One by now. And he didn't release yesterday, my ginger. It was 8 years ago. 8! DE fixed so much, making the game so much better. I know the common response is, what if they only have PC? But I don't buy that anymore. You're telling me the average gamer doesn't at least have an Xbox or a PlayStation. At worst, either treating it like it doesn't exist or just saying you're not going to talk about it just shows major bias. I didn't like it when MangaKamen did it. I always fuck up his name. But Magic doesn't even talk about it, and I doubt he even played it or knows the changes. DE fixed bugs, lock-on, color-coded enemies, balances the game more, and so much more. There's like a huge document about it. Why do you never give credit to DE in these videos? It's just annoying, man. So, I checked the comment section. He knows it exists, and he says it's the same game. In one comment, when asked if DE is any good, he said yes. Yet when somebody mentions DE is good, he says it's terrible. So, get this, guys. He complains about mechanics in the OG version, so only that version has, yet doesn't mention DE, which fixed said mechanics, and then said they're the same game. What a trip! Just to clear something up, he's not just talking about lock-on, but attaching to enemies when attacking. But the funny part is that you're blaming the game for a you problem. The joystick is more than enough. If you let go, of course it's going to be tricky. Just wanted to throw that out there just in case people didn't understand exactly what it meant.
For a Western game of this caliber to look cool and do nothing.
Bro, what is that even supposed to mean? You show footage of a game from Russia.
Basically, in this game you have angel weapons and demon weapons. And you see, cool and flashy aerial combos are only possible if you are using angel weapons. Demon weapons may help you juggle enemies on the ground, but they require you to stay still for a very long time. So, you know, go figure.
This is such a childish understanding of how the combat works. Angel weapons are light and fast, and deal with certain crowd control enemies, while demon weapons deal more damage, slower, and deal with certain crowd control enemies. But fun fact, nearly all of the games are centered around this. Sure, crowd control elements is something new to DmC Devil May Cry, but light and heavy weapons are not new to the series. 3 had 2 heavy weapons, 2 light weapons, and Rebellion, just like DmC Devil May Cry. 4 had 1 heavy weapon, 1 light weapon, and even Rebellion, just like DmC Devil May Cry. 5 is where things get a bit blurry, but overall, this is still a key part of the series. Having weapons like this is completely normal for a DmC game, and for a character action game in general. So making this sound alien to the series just doesn't make any sense.
Also, to use these weapons, you have to hold R2 and L2, which feels so awkward and not intuitive.
Change the controls. You're certainly able to do it. I hate buttons that have the Y on the main attack, but since I can change the controls, that's not really a point that matters.
And I was glad to see I was not the only one to think that.
I was not the only one. I use a Reddit post.
Monkey fuck.
Yeah. Thank you, Reddit.
That's like a very serious Redditor.
Dude, when I first saw this,
Someone's calling me a Redditor.
Dude, when I first saw this, I thought I was going insane.
Don't you get it? They're geniuses, dude. They know these games. They have all the resources they need. They know everything.
Oh wait. Let's give it up for Reddit suck monkey fuck, okay?
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Reddit suck monkey fuck.
Woo!
Thank you, Reddit suck monkey fuck. You made this video a little bit better with your name alone.
Monkey fuck.
Oh dear God, a Reddit comment. Just because I love Reddit, man. This comment has no capitalization, and the user is called Reddit sucks monkey fuck. Okay, not the best example to bring. But just to address it anyway, the reason why game journalists call Reboot Dante more relatable is because we're given multiple scenes that grounds the character in reality. OG Dante couldn't do anything 5 seconds without being over the top. This is by no means a diss to OG Dante, or Reboot Dante for that matter, but simply pointing out the fact that there are differences.
You have a dedicated launch button for whatever reason that doesn't add anything at all.
Yeah, not like I want a dedicated button for a launch in a Devil May Cry game about air combos. This point is missing what DmC is. If you don't have a lock-on move, then the launching upwards button is naturally going to happen if you have a solo button open for it. It's a no-brainer. And games without that suffer.
Just look at whatever this is. What is this move? Why is it so slow?
What do you mean? That's Rainstorm, and that's how it's been since the series, since DmC 2, and the reboot just adds an extra version of it. If you're on the ground, so what? It's one of the best moves in the game, dog.
The only gun that does anything at all is the sticky bomb gun, which works on like 2 enemies in the game and is pretty good for cheesing them, but against the majority of your enemies, you better off jumping off a cliff.
This is a take, certainly. I can't say I've heard this one before, but okay. While Kablooey does a lot of damage when stacked, the weapon is quite slow and the time detonation is a bit tricky to learn. So while I do think this gun is cool, it's not the best in the game. That goes to the shotgun or the pistols. I hope I can't make up my mind about which one's better, honestly.
Devil Trigger looks really cool, but is pretty much useless. All enemies start floating and thus making your combos harder to do, and also can bug out and start whooping your ass. The only thing the Devil Trigger is good for is blinding you if you're playing in the night.
What? DT is one of the most powerful things in this game. Your damage, the stunning of the enemies, and the healing. DT is the reliance of this game. I've heard complaints about it being too useful, but never saying it's useless. That's baffling.
Some of the times your QTE jumps will not happen at all, no matter how hard you spam the button, which is also a pleasure.
Because in that clip you're supposed to hold the button to glide. Spamming it doesn't work.
There are 3 types of collectibles in the game. Lost Souls, Keys and Doors. Lost Souls are the worst of them all. They grant you pretty much nothing, except for the very smart and quirky reference to the first game. Good job guys, really funny. You found it? Cool. Now you get slightly more points and a slightly better rank at the end of the mission. Did not found it? Well, too bad. Enjoy not getting a triple S rank at the end of the mission.
Let's walk down memory lane. If your first playthrough, it's going to be hard to get a rank above an A. However, after you've gotten all the collectibles, you will instantly get an SSS, meaning you can focus all your time and style points on that. Better yet, if you play the mission again, you'll most likely know that not only completing the levels, but fast and stylish. Fast. I said it right. Okay, shut up. You can't make me redo it. This means you're most likely going to get a rank below an S. So if you're annoyed at first, that's fair, but after you unlock everything, it'll be a cakewalk. Let's add a little more onto this, shall we? The DmC series in terms of scoring after the mission has been shrinking over time. In 3, there was a whole checklist of shit you had to do, but in 4 and DmC Devil May Cry, it only came down to red orbs, style, and time. But in the greatest game of all time, it only comes down to style. And out of all of them, I think DmC Devil May Cry is the best. As I mentioned, once you have all the collectibles, it will automatically give you a triple SSS. So you were mostly battling time and style. In 4, it's worse because the difference between the two is the fact that you have to get the orbs every single time. And in 5, it's hands out S's super easily. But hey, you know, maybe he know this if he play more than 30 hours of the game. Just a thought.
Bosses are pretty much QTE fights.
So let me be clear. I think the bosses are the worst part of DmC Devil May Cry. Like, hands down. Having said that, I don't think that they're all QTEs. QTEs are usually there to help transition from phases. Let's take the Succubus, for example. Every time you knock down a health bar, you have to transition with a QTE to the next phase of the fight. See? Simple. The entire fight isn't QTEs, it's just a transition. There are mechanics in each of the boss fights that you need to know. Saying that all the boss fights are QTEs is a laughable statement.
Not to mention, all of the bosses are invincible until you do something to it.
This is not even close to true. Bob is the only fight where you need to do something for him to take damage. The baby and the succubus still have damage done to them, you just need to move to the next phase.
The story is terrible, and the main plot can be summed up pretty much like this. Hey, it's me, Dante. I don't give a shit and I fuck chicks, and also I drink. But you're my brother. Oh, cool. Hey, what's your name? Oh, it's a generic woman needed for a forced love interest of the main character. Cool, we're in love now. Hey, let's kill Big Bad Demon. Okay, we killed Big Bad Demon, what's now? Oh, foolishness, Dante. I was evil all along. No, I did not see that coming. Let's fight. Oh, you're too powerful. I leave. I am sad. But tomorrow will be a new day.
Dante like eats pizza, then shop is destroyed, then Virgil be like, nah, Dante. So Dante fights a girl that shows up for some reason, and somehow Dante gets the theme of the story. Then the villain twist ends up being a twist. Then Virgil and Dante fight again for no reason, and the game is over. Literally anybody can make that point with any story that way.
But some of the worst dialogues ever written.
You missed. My name, by the way, is Dante.
Dante, son of Sparta, Akiba.
Yeah, you can call me Dante the Demon Killer. That's a nice ring to it, don't you think?
What you kill me? You can't kill me. I'm 1,200 years old.
You don't look a day over 12,000.
Now, will he explain why this dialogue doesn't work? Nope.
And the Oscar goes to...
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
It's so annoying.
This man
seen like every single reviewer you reviewed do that.
Yeah, like this man is so desperate to look like all the other DmC Devil May Cry haters that he just needs to use the same fucking cutscene 3 times in different contexts, all with the same punchline. Dialogue bad.
He doesn't understand what Devil May Cry is, or what the definition of the word cool is for that matter.
To me, is being real. Being themselves and not caring how other people view what they say or do. When I say you're cool, that's what I mean. Today, too many people are concerned how others view them. Posting pictures on social media sites or of themselves on vacation or where they're eating dinner that particular evening. Fuck that. Do things for yourself and for you to enjoy it, not to show everyone else what you're doing. Doesn't this apply to Reboot Dante?
It does!
Yeah, I don't think Dante cares about what people think about him.
Literally, it's like a part of his arc.
For himself. He is who he is.
This contradicts his argument. This is a contradiction.
Yeah.
Look, buddy, let's do this one last time. Cool is subjective. If you say OG Dante is cool, while I saw the Reboot Dante is cool, no matter what evidence you bring up, nothing will change someone's mind. Cool is super subjective. I think that Reboot Dante is pretty cool. He's doing some pretty over-the-top stuff and having fun with his enemies and hating on the church. I think both OG and Reboot Dante are cool, but hard to make a concrete argument as to whether is what cool is. We can make points against the characters, but defining what cool is depends on the culture, the personality type, and the time period, for instance. For example, if I say I like the motorcycle scene because I thought it was cool, how would I even go to make that point? Ah, yes, good sir. The motorcycle scene was pure genius. The way Dante beat up those demons reminds me of how my dad picked up things and beat. What I'm trying to say is that every time this is brought up, I just roll my eyes because there is an argument of the substance of nothing. Just like you say, it's too edgy as an argument.
Did your mother teach you how to use a door? You summon and kill. Summon and kill. I fail to see the logic here. It's like staring into a backed up toilet. Why do you always stick your nose in this business? You can hide that money. Tell there's no way. I'm not going anywhere. Besides, there's no place to go. Look around. This will be your burial ground as well.
Okay, I'm back. Let's get back to this fucking shit show.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It's our favorite game. Will they explain? I love this game, alright? Option A, Magic will give us an in-depth explanation showing where the pitfalls of DmC Devil May Cry's dialogue is. Or option B, he won't. LMAO. Alright, time's up. The answer was B, because of course it was. It's a reboot video, after all.
You have to realize even the infamous voice crack sounds 10 times better than 80% of the voice lines in this game.
Whoa! Okay, but like, how?
For some reason, the game decided to add angels to the game, which also serves no purpose. They don't appear in the game even once, and do not have any influence on the story at all.
Angel weapons are already in the game, and Eva is an angel, and shows up multiple times throughout the story, by the by. That's the story section, so he just made up outrageous claims, yet didn't back up any of them.
At the end of the game, he obviously betrays you out of nowhere because he's evil.
Let's go over this once more. You are completely ignoring the scenes that go over this. I'm trying not to repeat myself from past videos, but it plays out the same. There are 3 scenes that are key to Virgil's twist. First, the Lilith scene, where he shoots her twice just to piss off Mundus when he could have gotten Cat killed, and even before that, Virgil doesn't seem to care about the loss of the cat. Then, in the end, DE scene, Virgil then tries to justify himself after the hostage exchange, showing no remorse. This shows that Virgil is 1, doesn't care for others, 2, does anything to be on top, even if a win endangers others. These scenarios clearly lay out the theme of his character. Does he directly say it? No. And it wouldn't be a twist if there was. So, the DLC goes into more depth with this, but you know what I mean.
Genuinely seems like a saint who carries his sword around as an accessory. Genuinely seems like a saint. The cool visual design is gone, as all the locations look exactly the same.
What do you mean they're gone? It's the same idea, just applied differently. Again, this is Virgil's hell, meaning there's likely going to be a covered in blues and reds. Reds for the hell and blues for Virgil. The palace is fractured like this, and it's not based off of a place like the base game. I quite like the look. It has a similar ideas, yet differently compared. It makes the DLC more unique, though, overall, in my opinion.
Out of 6 missions, 2 of them are the exact same.
Because there is a story purpose. The first time he gets out where he stopped because he's not strong enough, which is the whole point of Virgil's downfall, gaining power for losing out of touch with reality. So yes, it makes sense. Also, not every level needs to be different. Levels can still work on their own. For example, DmC loves to repeat its boss fights, but under those same standards, the argument can be applied. The way I think of it is that it's not getting points for being original, but as long as they know what they're doing it and they're not doing it many times, it gets a pass.
It takes him a literal hour to swing his katana in the demon mode. His combo game is very weak. Your angel attacks look cool, but have some annoying tiny delay in between them. Your gap closer also has a huge delay and sometimes doesn't even work as intended. But I gotta say, Judgment Cut is cool.
Reboot Virgil is the best Virgil, gameplay-wise. I mean, I disagree. I think 5 Virgil is definitely up there, but I still really do like DmC Devil May Cry's Virgil. I like DmC Devil May Cry's Virgil. Virgil plays very good in this game, yep. Hell, DmC 4 and 5 literally takes Reboot Virgil stuff. Exactly, yes. That's what people never talk about. Literally an hour to swing his katana. Only in demon mode, but he's quick otherwise. Exactly. That's because, like, I don't think he understands how like the demon system or the angel system works. Like, we'll see later on where he completely criticizes the game for it's like, oh, you're slow. The slow and heavy weapons are slow and heavy. Can you believe that, guys? And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of the whole point. Like, that's always been in DmC. Even Agni and Rudra and Beowulf were slower compared to the Nevada and Cerberus, right? Like, this has been in the series.
Cavalier.
Yeah, and Cavalier too. Cavalier's really slow. Oh my god. Talking about slow. But it's clearly one of the greatest masterpieces of all time, so what do we know? So. Alright. There's only so much I can address at a time. First up, Virgil's demon mode is slow for the whole point. That's the whole point of the demon mode. Slow in exchange for damage. I'm really questioning whether this guy has even played an action game before. The entire idea of a demon mode is to be slow. Not every weapon is going to be as fast as Osiris or Aquila. Second, in terms of pure button combos, there aren't many, and teleporting and doppelganger make up for this, with tons of experimentation. Third, what delay? Angel moves are super quick, and I don't know what you're talking about. Damage isn't supposed to be high with this type of character. In fact, I'd say that giving too much damage to a character can take away from a lot of depth from trying to learn them. Fourth, Judgment Cut is the worst Judgment Cut compared to any of the other Virgils. Wow. That was a lot of really bad arguments without any explanation. Cool.
You are pretty weak against the shields because you have to do 4 consecutive swings of the slowest attacks known to mankind, and for some reason the damage you do just feels pathetic.
No, you can surpass this by hitting a perfect rising star or a perfect volcano. There are more than one ways to take care of a shield.
Instead of just being a loser this time, Virgil becomes a pathetic loser. He runs around like a crybaby, saying that nobody likes him anymore.
What am I watching? We can't have a character be vulnerable? The DLC isn't called Virgil's Badass Moments or Virgil's Oh My God. It's Virgil's Downfall. The title tells us exactly what we need to know. This is Virgil's full character decay. This shows us how he went from being a pretty normal person to a persona that we all know him as. 3 and 4 didn't expand upon this, the DLC does, and that's why it's so important.
Loses his heart and becomes a literal edgelord because, get this, Mami didn't like him as much as Dante, and this fact literally comes out of nowhere.
What? DmC 5 basically has the same idea of a character study, except there was actually true. In fact, this is one of the main reasons why Virgil wanted power. In 5, we are shown that in the fire that burned down, Dante and Virgil's mother tried to save both of them, but only managed to save Dante. Virgil ended up being left behind, thinking that he was forgotten. Virgil thinks that there is a sense of favoritism, and life shows that if you're favorited can lead to a big ego. While not being a favorite can lead to negative outcomes. While that conversation may be off topic, Dante being favorited is a much smaller part of the character. If we're simply talking about Virgil from DmC Devil May Cry, this is a fraction of his character. There is far more cutscenes giving us tons of reasons. Pride, jealousy/rivalry, and justified in his reasoning. Let me just remind everyone that Virgil's Downfall was not only a DLC of the base version that has 6 levels and has its very own story compared to the greatest masterpiece of all time. And funny enough, in DmC 5, Virgil is so great. It's so weird though that Virgil from 4 and 5 takes a lot of influence from DmC Devil May Cry Virgil. Strange, huh?
What I really meant to say here is, this "mommy didn't like me as much as Dante" really comes out of nowhere, like he just made it up as he killed the woman rights. Even his mom says it's not true, but no, he needed some reason to be evil, so here it is.
Dude, you're still stuck on this? You focused on the part of the DLC that barely even factors into Virgil's overall character. You're doing this as if it's a shortcut. You don't even talk about him as a character anymore. How does this count as a real point?
Forcing you to stand fucking still and to wait for your time to enjoy this awesome platforming. This level is one of the worst levels of all the Devil May Cry series in its entirety.
It's worse than the water parts of DmC 1. It's worse than the backtracking where you hit certain enemies and you get pulled out of the level. And it's worse than the average DmC 2 level, all because you have to use the hook? Dude, this is a stretch, even for you. You have no good evidence. You have literally nothing to work with.
What they think about this reboot, and a lot of people actually defend this game, but what it usually boils down to is, oh yeah, this is bad, yeah. Oh, this is also pretty bad, did not like that. This is also a very trash mechanic, true. Oh, this? Yeah, this is unplayable garbage, I agree. So, do you hate the game, or... Oh no, it has really good gameplay and it's pretty cool, 7 out of 10. Guys, I'm not an expert here, but if the first things that come to your mind are the bad ones, maybe the game is not that great.
Yes, that's exactly what my defense video was about, guys. just says, oh, that's bad, but it's a good game. I don't say this a lot, but like, honestly, fuck off. Honestly. You don't even care to take a better look at the game, or the people defending it. You don't even try to address any of our points. You just make up a point that no one has made. I will always defend this game. While I agree that the bosses are the weakest part of this game, that doesn't mean I won't defend it. So much for any good faith points. The funny thing about this quote is that a lot of people think that DmC 5 is the perfect game, but as soon as I talk about V, the breaker system, the camera, or the lack of content, they instantly fold. But that's what I can expect. One of the greatest masterpieces of all time. Alright, that's the last one, I promise.
Even the lead designer of this game confirms that there is no demographic that this game would be appealing to.
Did you even understand the quote? This is a good thing. If you have a game only meant for appealing to certain demographics, then you're not making a game. Tameen is saying that making a game is more than checking boxes, and rather making something that you can be proud of. If you want to make a game for demographics yet you're not proud of it, then what's the point? This is not the gotcha you think it is.
This game was released 1 month prior to Metal Gear Rising, which did not look visually as impressive, I gotta admit, but this game literally slam dunks this crap into oblivion.
Buddy, I did a section in my video and no it doesn't. Even Gaming Bert mentions that he plays more DmC Devil May Cry than MGR.
The thing about the reboot is, if you boot it up and play it once, it feels fine. I even enjoyed it during my first playthrough. But the moment you start playing it more and increasing the difficulty, you start seeing cracks. You see the stuff that was overlooked, if not completely forgotten to be looked at. You start paying attention to mechanics more, and the thought of, maybe this game is shit actually.
But I had the exact opposite opinion. The more I play it, the more I understand its moveset, the story, and the art style. It's a game that has gotten better over time for me, and if it's not for you, then that's okay, but don't group me in and think we're the same.
Ninja Theory got a complete creative freedom, and pretty much no supervision from the creators of the original games, as I understand it.
I can't shrug this off. This is just false. NT wanted an OG-looking Dante. Capcom is the one that pushed for that new direction. The idea to make him a smoker and to pander to the West was all Capcom. Know your history. But get this! He knows according to a comment, yet he says they are still a garbage studio. Love to see it. I couldn't think to end it on a better note. Like, this is why me and Blast say that this is the worst DmC Devil May Cry video ever. There's no topping it.
I'm trying to think of what was, if it wasn't that, what was the worst? Like, if that's not it, what is?
Exactly. Wow, what a trip. He seemed to talk about everything, yet didn't understand any of it. So first I want to mention something that covers the video entirely. This video has to be exaggerating. This man has to be exaggerating. There are too many times I wonder, does he really believe that? And that's because it's entertaining to the viewer. The average person who doesn't buy DmC or hasn't played DmC Devil May Cry will think the game is incredibly bad. Just listen to this.
It can't be that bad. It is. It is fucking horrible mess of dumpster fire diarrhea projected right into my oral cavity and sprinkled with some no-no words and sex every 3 seconds. But after suffering through more than 30 hours of this pathetic excuse of a game, I just cannot contain my feelings about it. I don't know what kind of hardcore drugs you need to insert in your anal cavity to think that a game like Devil May Cry doesn't need a focus mechanic, but that was the decision they made. Spitting in the mouths of all the fans. Well, more like shitting Taco Bell diarrhea out of their assholes into the faces of the fans. The funniest thing is, after you beat the game, you see a little preview of their studio, like they're proud of creating this piece of shit. Small hint, you should not be proud of any of this. Fuck this game and fuck Ninja Theory.
He makes it sound as his best mate was shot. It's way over the top. And look, I get it. If it's a bad game, it's a bad game. But even Redfall is one of the worst games I've ever played. Yes, worse than DmC 2. Yet, I didn't go this extreme. I guess it's like for entertainment. That's one thing, but later carries into his arguments, which is a tactic that can harm your video. This leads me to his gameplay section. DmC 1 does not have better combat than DmC Devil May Cry. DmC Devil May Cry has far more depth with its combat, enemies, and overall freedom than DmC 1. He doesn't understand the concept of a heavy and light weapon either. This is in DmC's blood, and always will be. Even Infront from DmC 1 had to hold and wait to do more damage. He even makes his complaint with Virgil. This is an argument that I don't hear due to the sheer fact of it being common knowledge. If the Axe and Eric's were fast to do damage, the other 3 weapons wouldn't have much of a purpose. Unlike other DmC games, all the weapons depend on each other in certain ways. As I mentioned in my gameplay section, weapons cross over. The Big Daddy Axe and the Ninja Stars use projectiles, while the Reaper Scythe and the Hulk hands make for good parrying. Things like this make the weapons overlap. This is a really good design feature for the gameplay. Angel and Demon mode need to have a balance or else the game falls apart. He also doesn't understand the guns. The guns are meant as a failsafe. If you need to stun an enemy or a group of enemies, use Ricochet. If you want to do damage on one enemy, then you use the Shotgun Bomb or Kablooey. However, each of these requires thinking ahead. The gameplay is one of the best parts of the game. The story section, he honestly doesn't even try. He either sums up the story poorly or shows out of context clips. Even Kbash goes into more depth about the story than he does. He doesn't talk about Dante's arc. He doesn't talk about Cat. He doesn't even talk about Mundus' relationship with Dante. He wastes a section saying it's cringe and it's not as cool as before. And after he says one of the two, he plays a clip and calls it a day. I mean, at least he gave Virgil his own section, but damn! He doesn't even put effort into talking about the plot in any meaningful way. Even his Virgil section, he misses the idea of the basic plot twist, and he hyper-fixates on Virgil thinking that he was the favorite, even though this is just the surface level of understanding Virgil's decay. But this Virgil isn't a good character because previous Virgil killed people before?
Guys, this is Virgil we're talking about, remember him?
Knowing this, I thought you'd be more useful to me. But I was wrong.
He never proved how Virgil was a bad character. Then we have his jank section. Look, if you find bugs, that sucks. I didn't encounter many bugs in my game, maybe that's because I played in DE, but fine, I'll give him a pass. Then, in his second to last section, he makes a straw man of DmC Devil May Cry defenders, boiling down their arguments to such a degree where he can easily write them off. In his last section, he thought that Ninja Theory had complete creative control, yet not understanding the basic background of the game. So yeah, this is a really bad video on DmC Devil May Cry. It's like a 1 out of 10 at best, if you want me to add a score to it. And notice guys, even though This is the worst DmC Devil May Cry video I've seen. I'm not going pages and pages of insults against Magic or the video. Although, I'll make this one insult. He brought up problems with the base game, knew that it was fixed in DE, and didn't mention it anyway. Nice!
Doctor, inject MagicSchoolBass's video directly into my cock.
Alright.
The hardest part about life is death. Some people fear it, some can't resist it. Persona 3 is a game that takes this head on. The characters consistently ask themselves if the life that they have is worth living. Don't worry, I won't go into spoilers, but damn, this story hits hard. At the end of the story, our characters are forced to make a choice. Either choice they make, they will end up in the group all dying. This not only happens in the game, but in the movies as well. Through both, we see how they change over time, how each feels hopeless, and how no matter what choice they make, they can't change death. This one moment brings their characters to light. We see how this affects them. One by one, we see their reasonings as to why they want to live. It's at this moment our characters really make a stand. They are done running away, and if they die protecting something that they love, so be it. If you know anything about Persona, the silent protagonists are common. Yu is the goofy one, Ren is the show-off, but what about Makoto? Makoto is the best out of the three simply because his silence makes sense. Makoto isn't like Yu or Ren. Makoto seems closed off, quiet, and even emo to an extent, and when he first shows up, it's not like he really cares if he lives or dies. He's just hollow. This ties back into the theme of death. There's quite a few characters that die. So I asked myself, what did I cry at the end of the game? Until I understood that it was inevitable. A certain character dies at the end of the game, and I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. Everything just clicked, and everything fell together. Persona 3's story is amazing, and it's my favorite in the series. It makes me understand death more. I do think about death a lot and the meaninglessness of life. So this game's story touched me, and I hope it will for you too. Oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot. DmC Devil May Cry is a very underrated game, and even after my ultimate defense, people still don't get this. But the tides are turning. More and more people are starting to like DmC Devil May Cry. Now, I named this section What DmC Devil May Cry Means to Me, and I titled it that way for a reason. DmC Devil May Cry means a lot to me. Ninja Theory in general means something to me. As my favorite studio, I can't wait to see what they come out with next. This game is something that I can play over and over again. Talking to others who's played this game, or watching other inspiring gameplay as they show off their skill, so please, even if you hate that game, at least be respectful. To see MagicSchoolBass go off the deep end of a game that he hates hurts a little bit. I'm not a sensitive guy, but it feels unchecked, you know? Either way, DmC Devil May Cry means a lot to me. It's gotten me through some tough times, and I hope it did for you too. So, happy birthday to a great game. I know you'll always be ready for me to play you. Now excuse me, but I have a score to settle.
This is how it happened. This is how the Batman died.